Good evening, everyone. We come to you tonight with breaking developments that demand your immediate attention. We interrupt your regularly scheduled doom scrolling for a special report of grave importance, a situation that could alter the course of global events. As of today, June 24, 2025, the United States military has launched a preemptive military strike against Iran's Fordow nuclear facility. This is not a drill. If this scenario feels strangely familiar, almost like something you've seen play out on the big screen, it's because the mission bears an uncanny resemblance to the plot of Top Gun: Maverick. The parallels are, frankly, disturbing. This isn't mere coincidence, it's foreign policy being shaped and executed as if it were a summer blockbuster, blurring the lines between entertainment and geopolitical strategy. The Pentagon and Hollywood have, for too long, blurred the line between entertainment and reality, creating a dangerous feedback loop where fantasy informs action. This collaboration is effectively priming the public to not only accept, but to actively cheer on real-world acts of aggression, framing them as heroic endeavors. We're living in a country where billion-dollar movies, meticulously crafted with Pentagon input, serve as de facto test runs and propaganda pieces for actual war. The Fordow strike isn't just about missiles and military hardware, it's about something far more insidious. It's about the immense power of narrative, carefully constructed and disseminated, to manufacture public consent for what would otherwise be an unthinkable act of aggression and conflict. In the movies, the story conveniently ends with a triumphant flight into the sunset, the heroes returning home to accolades and glory. But in reality, we are left to grapple with the terrifying and often irreversible aftermath. The very real risk of a devastating regional war, the tragic loss of innocent lives, and the potential for widespread global instability that could destabilize the entire world order. This is the profoundly dangerous intersection of propaganda, unchecked state power, and the seductive allure of Hollywood, where carefully crafted fiction has the potential to become a devastating tragedy for us all. Stay with us as we continue to unpack this developing story. Let's break down, dissect, and analyze the playbook, the narrative strategies, the underlying assumptions, and the persuasive techniques employed. In Top Gun: Maverick, a blockbuster hit that captured the imagination of millions, a vague, unnamed enemy is portrayed enriching uranium, a process essential for nuclear weapons development. This activity takes place in a heavily guarded mountain facility, deep underground, directly threatening U.S. allies and destabilizing the region. The stakes are immediately set high. The proposed solution? A daring, highly precise airstrike executed with pinpoint accuracy and unwavering resolve. Iran's Fordow facility in reality is a real-world mirror, a chilling reflection of the movie's plot. It's buried deep underground, heavily fortified and consistently framed as an urgent and imminent threat to global security. A direct threat to regional allies, requiring immediate action. The Pentagon's potential strike plan, if it exists, reads almost like a Hollywood script, a narrative carefully crafted for maximum impact. Featuring stealth bombers, treacherous, unforgiving terrain, and a constantly ticking clock, adding to the sense of urgency and impending doom. The true genius of this model lies in its subtle yet powerful emotional manipulation, playing on our fears and desires to shape our perceptions. The film cleverly asks you to root for Maverick, the charismatic hero, rather than question the underlying justification for the mission itself. By the time the jets launch into the sky, the audience has been thoroughly conditioned, primed to accept the narrative. They are ready to see aggression not as a last resort, but as righteous and necessary. This is precisely how consent is manufactured in the modern age, not through grainy, outdated newsreels, but with immersive Dolby Atmos sound and the allure of Oscar buzz. The film's underlying political message was so seamlessly integrated and effectively delivered, it became virtually invisible, operating beneath the surface of conscious awareness. And now we're tragically living out its very real-world consequences. The already thin line between Hollywood fiction and government policy has all but vanished completely, and the devastating results are now unfolding in real time before our very eyes. Hollywood and the Pentagon have a long-standing partnership. In exchange for access to military hardware, studios submit scripts for review, ensuring the military is always the hero. Films like Top Gun: Maverick become global propaganda, normalizing war as thrilling and necessary. The public is conditioned to accept military action as routine, the costs edited out, replaced by spectacle. When real leaders echo movie scripts, the groundwork for war is already laid. This isn't just about justifying one conflict, it's about creating a permanent culture of war. The true costs, human, economic, social, are kept off screen. War becomes entertainment and the public becomes desensitized. The Pentagon doesn't need to sell war, Hollywood does it for them, and we buy the ticket every time. The US has attacked Iran's Fordow facility, echoing the urgency and tactics of Top Gun Maverick. This wasn't a coincidence, it was a deliberate echo, justified by intelligence and rhetoric straight from the movies. But unlike fiction, Iran can retaliate. It has regional proxies, missile capabilities, and the power to disrupt global oil. The film ends with heroes flying home. Reality brings the risk of escalation, retaliation, and war. The sanitized narrative ignores the real dangers, cycles of violence, thousands of lives at risk, and a region on the brink. Hollywood's years of demonizing Iran and glorifying preemptive strikes made this real-world gamble possible. The government didn't have to sell this war. Hollywood already did. Now, we're living in the sequel, and it's far darker than the original. Experts warn the idea of a clean, limited strike on Iran is pure fantasy. We're in a world where Russia and China back Iran and US military dominance is no longer assured. Iran's nuclear sites are hardened and dispersed. A strike would only delay, not destroy the program. Retaliation would be massive. US bases across the Gulf would be targets, and our missile defenses are depleted. This isn't strategy, it's reckless ideology fueled by Hollywood myths. The likely outcome? Regional war, economic chaos, and humanitarian disaster. No lasting objective, just endless danger. The sober truth is drowned out by the roar of fictional jet engines. Reality is far messier and far more dangerous than the movies ever show. In movies, war is clean, a spectacle of choreographed chaos. Explosions are thrilling, the enemy faceless, often dehumanized, and collateral damage a mere line of dialogue, a footnote in the grand narrative of heroism. The reality, however, is far removed from this sanitized portrayal. The real cost of bombing Fordow will be measured not in strategic gains, but in lives. Iranian workers, going about their daily routines, nearby civilians, families torn apart, their lives irrevocably altered, and American soldiers, young men and women sent into harm's way. Their suffering won't be set to a rock anthem, glorified or easily forgotten, or resolved in a heroic arc, neatly packaged for consumption. The scars of war run deep and last lifetimes. War's consequences extend far beyond the battlefield, rippling outwards, touching every facet of society. Refugees displaced from their homes, their lives shattered, destabilized neighbors, creating regional instability and uncertainty, and power vacuums for extremists, breeding grounds for future conflicts. We've seen this before. History is replete with such examples. In Iraq, a nation forever scarred. Libya, a country plunged into chaos. Afghanistan, a graveyard of empires, where promised victories led to decades of chaos, instability, and human suffering. The idea that this time is different, that we can somehow control the uncontrollable, is the most dangerous fiction of all. Propaganda focuses on the missile, its sleek design and pinpoint accuracy, not its devastating impact. The pilot, detached and clinical, not those below, whose lives are about to be irrevocably changed. It sells us the thrill of victory, hides the morgue, the endless rows of graves. We must see past the cinematic gloss, the carefully constructed narrative, to the real human faces of war, the victims, the survivors, the forgotten. Refuse the grotesque calculus, the cold, detached calculations that makes others' deaths the price of our security, our comfort, our way of life. We stand on the edge of a conflict test marketed as a blockbuster. Hope lies in seeing through the narrative, becoming critical consumers, not passive audiences. Demand journalism that challenges power, and art that confronts the horror of war, not just its spectacle. Peace is hard, unglamorous work, but it's the only path that doesn't end in tragedy. We must reject the lie that war is entertainment and demand more from our leaders and our media. The story of Fordow isn't over. Its ending depends on our response. Let this be the moment we stop buying what they're selling. The stakes are human lives, and the consequences are irreversible.